Today I'm in Ballymoney Cemetery and I'm here to visit the final resting place of one of the last victims of the Troubles, an RUC officer murdered at the tail end of the Troubles, as I say. It's at the top of the hill, heading down to the older section here, which you might be able to see just coming into view then, a headstone with the RUC logo at the top of it. And it says, "Cherished memories of a devoted husband and father, Constable Robert Gregory Taylor, taken from us 1st June 1997, aged 41, and you can see there's a number of flowers around his final resting place, which implies that he's not forgotten and that there are people regularly visiting his grave. So 1987, thankfully the Troubles drew to a close. Constable Taylor, he was in fact close to one of the last of more than 300 officers from the RUC killed during the Troubles. At about 1:55 a.m. on Sunday, 1st June 1987, Constable Greg, as he was known, Constable Greg Taylor, was in a bar in Ballymoney whilst off duty having a social drink with some friends, one of whom was also a police officer. He was identified as a policeman by some of the patrons of the bar who jostled and abused him in an upstairs lounge. Thought that some of those bars had been members of a loyalist band that had been prevented along with arrangement for marching in the predominantly Catholic village of Dunloy in County Antrim. Some were members of a flute band who started arguing with Constable Taylor. He put a call through on his mobile telephone to Ballymoney Police Station requesting assistance, but the mobile patrol was several miles away. Leaving the public house, both policemen were set upon by the loyalist mob and beaten and kicked. Constable Taylor's police friend was chased away by the mob, who then started viciously beating Greg Taylor about the head and stamping on his head. A doctor arrived at the scene, but Constable Taylor died about 15 minutes later from his injuries. A witness said that he saw one of the men deliberately kick him in the head as he lay on the ground motionless. Horrendous. A few hours later, when the police started the murder inquiry, they arrested some 15 people, some of whom were loyalist bandsmen. Several women were also arrested. The funeral of Gregory Taylor was held on Tuesday the 3rd of June in St Patrick's Parish Church here in Ballymoney. The service was conducted by Canon E.R. Laverty. The sermon was by the Right Reverend J.E. Moore, Bishop of Connor. Interment took place here at Ballymoney Cemetery after the service. Out of the arrest, 8 men were charged with the murder and 2 of them were sentenced to life imprisonment. 2 others who pleaded guilty to manslaughter were sentenced to 4 years imprisonment, each for their part in the killing. Further 2 received 12 months each on a charge of fray. Apparently the 2 who were sentenced to life imprisonment were eligible for release under the Good Friday Agreement of the year 2000. So in effect they served 2 years. Greg was survived by his wife Kathleen and 3 children, Sharon, Jonathan and Christopher. One of Greg's children is a serving police officer. Again, 1987, one of the last murders of an RUC officer during the Troubles. On this occasion, it was around the time when Orange Order marches were particularly controversial. They had the likes of Drumcree, about a march in the Garvaki Road, but also tensions were heightened apparently in this area. A parade was not allowed in Dunloy. So this Greg Taylor then, one of 2 police officers, brutally assaulted, and sadly, in his case, Greg Taylor, it led to his death. Aged only 41 on the 1st of June 1997.